So right now, let's see what we have generated with Qwen Image 2512. So this is the image. The prompt was followed pretty well. The skin texture is still a little bit plasticky, in my opinion. And the number of steps are really high, at 50. But the overall generation is pretty good, I should say. So let's try with a lot of different prompts to generate a lot of different images, and let's see how this model does. And here is the second generation, so pretty good. Now let's play around a bit with the sampler and the scheduler, because I want to see what changes. So let's use the first prompt that we've made, so the one before this one, and let's go with one that is usually pretty good, so res2s. And for the scheduler, let's go with beta 57, and let's see what changed. And here, our generation with a different sampler and a different scheduler. I think it is a little bit better. Now I want also to test if we go with 1 in the CFG and with the same amount of steps, so 50 in this case. Okay, and this is much better, I will say. The skin is much more realistic, and the overall picture of this character is much more realistic, even the clothes that she's wearing, and the details of the skin. So 1 as a CFG is great with 50 steps. So now let's stay this way with 1 and 50, but I want to do a little test again. So let's turn with the standard classic sampler and scheduler. So we go into Euler, as people say, but I really like to call it Euler because it makes much more sense to call it Euler and not Euler, but anyway, and simple. So we run it and we see the difference. So just to see if the problem for the skin and the overall composition was just the CFG that was on 4 and now it is on 1, as you can see, or if we need to change the sampler and the scheduler as well. So let's see and see how it compares with the previous generation. So keep in mind, this is the generation that we've just made, and this is with Euler and simple. I mean, it is still better compared to the CFG4, but as you can see, the one before, so with res2s and with beta 57, it was much better. And if you don't have res2s and beta 57, I go through it quickly. You go into Manager, Custom Node Manager, you search here res4, and you download res4life here. You download these nodes, and you will have all the scheduler and all the samplers that you want. So in this case, the res2s and the beta 57. Now that we've understand how to make our pics more realistic, so if we go back like this one, for example, we can move on and continue with our generation to see how it goes with different prompts and different kind of characters. Here we have an anime style character, so the prompt was followed very precisely, I should say, and the final results is pretty good. So now let's try with another style and another character to see how it goes. Pretty good generation, I should say. Prompt followed. This is more like a villain than a hero, but I mean, the prompt was followed and the generation looks very good. Now let's try another fantasy one, and then we'll go back with some more realistic stuff. Pretty good generation. I mean, the details on the dragon, the 200 plus is perfect, the scale of the dragon and the overall look is great. Here the prompt was not precisely followed because the 200 was the dragon breathing mystical fire that shapes into a glowing 200, but overall is a pretty good generation. Now let's go back to do something a little bit more realistic, And as you can see here, also one thing to notice is the time of the generation. So right now I'm using ComfyUI in Rampod with 4090 RTX NVIDIA GPU, and the time is 74 seconds on average, so a little bit more than a minute. If we compare the same kind of things with Z Image, the generation are much faster. But I mean, 74 seconds is not bad for a generation of this quality. So if you run it with, of course, this model here, that is the FP8 model, that is a little bit lighter, your generation will be a little bit faster. If you run it with the regular standard size model, the 40 gigabytes one, your generation might take a little bit more time, and also depending on the GPU that you have. If you run it locally with your own GPU, take note that with a 4090, this is the average generation time. So as you can see here, 74 seconds, 74 seconds, 74 seconds. So let's take a look at this generation. It is a little bit scary, but it is really good. I mean, the smile, the stain here on the cup, the hair, and the clothes, it is pretty realistic. So later on we will compare it with Z Image and Nano Banana Pro to see how it does. Now let's try another very realistic prompt. And here we have our final generation. As you can see, the skin texture, the snow, the hair, the lips, the eyes, it is very realistic, and it is a very good generation. Now, I will test a bunch more stuff, and we will compare it with the one that we've generated with Z Image and Nano Banana Pro, but we'll do it in a separated video because I want to talk a bit more about the comparison, and otherwise this video will be so much longer. So we will see later on how this Qwen Image 2512 is compared with the other two models. That's it for this video. Let me know what you think about Qwen Image 2512, and let me know if you test it a little bit. I will make a comparison video very soon, so stay tuned for that to see which one is better compared to Z Image and to Nano Banana Pro. So in the meantime, I will leave you everything in the description. Let me know in the community, make a post, let me know if you have questions, if you have feedback, if you tested, and your results. And of course, as always, I wish you a great day, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.